Sanko licky love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko licky love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko kissy love upon the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko kissy love upon the dam and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police are come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, policeman are come.
Sanko chasey love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko chasey love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko catchy love upon the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko catchy love upon the dam and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police are come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, policeman are come.
Sanko squeezy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko squeezy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko lefty love upon the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko lefty love upon the dam and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko boy,
You better run.
Sanko boy, police are
Sanko licky love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko licky love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko kissy love upon the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko kissy love upon the dam and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police are come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, policeman are come.
Sanko chasey love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko chasey love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko catchy love upon the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko catchy love upon the dam and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla
Pleasant good evening, everyone. A pleasant good evening to everyone. It's Saturday, It's Saturday, the 27th day of April 2024. Can you believe it? We're already there. Welcome, welcome, welcome once again to Over to You. My name is Wayne Caesar. I am privileged to be your host here again. This is the program Over to You, a show by the people for the people. And tonight's program is brought to you compliments of Benchop Immigration and Law. For all your immigration needs, please reach out to the Benchop Immigration and Law business. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope that everyone is doing very, very well. I see my guest tonight is early, Mr. Colin Barnwell. Again, we encourage you to support Linder's Restaurant and Bakery located on Church Avenue between East 53rd and 54th Street, and also support our professional electrician, Mr. Sherwin Green. All right, then. Let's see who is here tonight. That's a big thing. Beatrice Selby. Good afternoon. Welcome over to you. Jacqueline Johnson, welcome. Deborah Sharona Lynch. Sister Deborah, good evening. How are you doing? Arlene Rubin Benjamin. Good evening, my sister. It's more like good afternoon for you because I think you're in a zone that's a little bit behind us here in the Northeast. Good afternoon to you. Mistress Shondell Griffith, a pleasant good evening to you. How are things? How are things going? Miss Siobhan McDonald. Miss McDonald, I haven't spoken to you for a little bit. Good afternoon. Welcome to Over to You. Miss Cheryl Pancham. She's always present, omnipresent. Miss Pancham, good evening. How are you doing? Corinne Day, good evening. Good evening. Mr. Carl Miller, good evening, my honorable brother. Thank you for joining. A pleasant good evening to you. Mr. Otto Martin. Otto, how you gonna just come on and say, hey? What's that, man? Good evening, my brother. Good evening. I hope you're doing well, Mr. Otto Martin. Otto Martin is the host of the Small Man Show. Good evening, Otto. Tyrone Peters, good evening. Good evening. Miss Pam Halls, good evening. Shanetta Alicia, good evening. Welcome to Over to You. Kelly Abrams McCoy, welcome. Angeli Abrams, welcome, welcome. Desiree Smart Felix, welcome. New Amsterdam in the house, right, Miss Smart Felix? I hope I'm correct with that. New Amsterdam is in the house. A pleasant good evening to the people of Nabaklis, Golden Grove, Aslington, Victoria, Anns Grove, BV Tryon, Buxton, Numprel, Melanie, Paradise. Good evening, Pleasance Industry, Better Hope North, Vryzelos. Good evening to you all those on the East Bank Corridor, Grove. Good evening to you guys. The Georgetown area, good evening. Welcome to Over to You. There's a lot for us to discuss today. And I hope all of you are enjoying your Saturday and, we can just sit down and have a good discourse in relation to the Cooperative Republic of Guyana and the saga that continues to be the PPPC. Mr. Barnwell, good evening to you, sir. And welcome to the program.
Yeah, good evening to you, Mr. Caesar, the Over to You family, viewers everywhere, in the homeland and here in the diaspora. Thanks for having me.
All right, sir. So I want to touch with you quickly on, I want to start off with the Irfaan Ali visit to Brooklyn. And I would like your take, on the whole, from a holistic perspective on the whole saga that was that visit to Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. All right. From my vantage point, the whole purpose of the Ali's visit was to cover up the actions of the government that is now gaining international scrutiny and to cast the regime in a light that is contrary to the reality on the ground in Guyana. We all know the history of this regime and the atrocities against the Black community. Not so long ago, we know their treatment of ACTA. We know the Ipadagy. We know that they defunded Ipadagy. They arrested every Black talk show host and charged them with cyber crimes. They arrested Robin P. Simon and 10 other Africans just for standing up and protesting the unjust killing of Quindan Bacchus. We know they have been on a extrajudicial killing spree, murdering many Africans, 1,400 plus during the reign of Jagdeo, and even after that, as late as 2 years ago, the murder of Orrin Boston, a businessman who was murdered in his home by the agents of the mercenaries of the state. They have denied Black people their right to participate in the patrimony of the nation, and so the regime is a racist and vindictive regime, and that's how we must see them. So his visit to New York was a facade to cover up their tracks, to present to the world a different regime and a different Guyana than the one experienced by the many whose neck they have their feet on. And so a couple of businesses got caught in this whole charade, and some of them which we all are aware of, the Hills Restaurant, P&S Bakery, and one other business that was not so involved, but they came out and apologized because they realized what happened. So what Ali did after his masquerade in Brooklyn, he used video footage of his visit, you know, creating the impression that he's well liked in the Black community, and that you know it was a political ad to portray them in a positive light. And so many of us, as soon as I saw that video, immediately I was really pissed off, and I said I will not be supporting the Hills Restaurant. That's long before anyone else came online, long before Ben Chop or Burke called for boycott. I have an activist mindset, and I believe that we should spend our money where we are respected. I thought that these businesses crossed the line of just a mere cordial and the decent, the kind of treatment you would give a president. You know, you welcome them and that's it. But they went overboard. I think some of them were guilty of endorsing the regime. One business addressed him as the founder leader and all kind of crap.
Take responsibility. Yep. We want you to look out for us. We do not want no segregation. No. We are one people. And if we're going to do it, let's do it together because we have respect for you. Thank you.
That some Africans they do not see the Ali regime as the oppressor. Unfortunately, that's the reality. So many of those. Sorry,
Mr. Morales, stick a pin right there, because what the business owner was saying, one of the things that she was saying, one of the sentences that she used is that we respect you.
Take responsibility. Yep. We want you to look out for us. We do not want no segregation. No. We are one people. And if we're going to do it, let's do it together because we have respect for you. Thank you.
All right, President. All right, I agree with you, and I would have it no other way. No other way. There is only one way forward, and that is united. That is for us to band together, for us to understand the challenges together, and for us to overcome those challenges.
Don't ask what the country can do. Ask what you can do for the country. So we're here to work together as one.
Thank you.
We respect you. Now, the question I beg to ask, who is she speaking for? Okay, because I can say that most on this program and across the board, most have no respect for Irfaan Ali because he's an oppressor. And we don't respect oppressors. When you want respect, You have to earn it. And that comes from being righteous and fulfilling your mandate to the people. Now, Mr. Barnwell, how do you find it? Ironically, this guy comes into Brooklyn. And listen, he didn't just come into Brooklyn. He came in undercover, wearing a Fidel Castro look-alike uniform, all puffed up and everything. You can see that there is protective wear on the veer. Okay? Now, if you are a good president, if you're doing righteous things by the people, there is no need to have on a whole set of armor. You can walk freely because you know that the people are for you. Right, Mr. Barnwell? You agreeing there?
Have a hush-hush appearance. You would have a town hall meeting. If you seriously want to hear from the folks in the U.S., you will have a town hall meeting like Aubrey Norton had when he went to visit Queens, and hear from everyone, even those that don't agree with you or support you. But it's clear that this was a political propaganda stunt, and businesses that partake in this stunt will face boycott action. And those that scoff and mock boycott action, there will be protest action following the boycott. So we will go in front of their businesses and protest and raise the stakes even higher. They have an opportunity. I call on them now. If they have any kind of respect for the people that have been supporting their business through the years, all they have to do, if they really are innocent and have nothing to do with this charade, call Ali and tell him to remove their names. That's how it's done in the civilized world. That's how it's done in this country. If you use someone's name without their permission, you use their business without their permission, and you anger their constituents, you apologize. So I'm calling on these people. If they seriously want to put this behind, they will apologize for their mistake, and they will ask Ali to remove their names and remove the footage of their businesses from this political propaganda. Failure to do so, we can only infer that they are part and parcel of the oppression, and we vehemently oppose any business, any person. This struggle is bigger than any one individual, and any person that will stand and cozy up and embrace the oppressors will have protest action. Boycott is intended to bring about policy change. It's not something we use willy-nilly, but when the moment
I think we would have lost Mr. Barnwell there for a little. We're not getting audio from him. All right, when he comes back in. All right, so let's continue. And thank you, Lemon. Lemon does have up the picture there of that pastor. Yeah, we're not getting any volume from Mr. Barnwell. Let me see if he's looking. Okay. All right. So let's continue. Lemon just had the picture up of that pastor, and that pastor claims that he likes to have dialogue. You know, it's an interesting thing to have dialogue. I do not disagree with having dialogue. But look who you're having a dialogue with. You know, you're sitting down and you are breaking bread with a man who his government, because we could talk all we want to talk about Barry Jagdeo and that the fact that he's running the country. But Irfan Ali is the one who was installed as president. Okay? He is supposed to be the most powerful individual in that party. So we could talk all we want to talk about Barry Jagdeo. Everything lies at the feet, yes, of Barry Jagdeo and Irfan Ali. Right? This pastor here, you know, is making a grave mistake. It was a grave mistake on his part to work on the cover to get this oppressor into Brooklyn, coordinating with these businesses. And I agree with Mr. Barnwell. These businesses need to apologize to the people, not just having their names removed from being aligned, with the racist PPPC, the racist oppressive PPPC regime, but to come out and apologize to the community of Brooklyn and people from a holistic perspective. Because look, let's look at it this way. There is an Indo-Guyanese that have businesses, 2 businesses in that same area, Flatbush, Utica area, that is very similar to these businesses in question. And that business person, none out of the 2 of their businesses was paid a visit by this oppressor on screen here. So it shows that it was deliberate to target Afro-Guyanese businesses. And it makes sense in the grand scheme of what the PPPC is trying to do, because they just came off of a UN human rights meetings that really showed them up, really embarrassed them. It really depicted exactly what this installed regime was all about. So they are looking to put in place now corrective measures. And the target of having an AL to make those corrective measures was Afro-Guyanese businesses. Okay? These business owners, they were gullible in allowing this guy to infiltrate their businesses. And I'm sure that they're going to dearly pay the price, because people are not going to support them. And from what I am hearing on the ground, this boycott is really, really picking up. And this is not good. This is not good. I would call on those businesses to start making the necessary taking the necessary corrective actions immediately. Okay? They should have done it like yesterday. Now, the installed president was just trying to push his narrative, and push the narrative that the PPPC is a caring government, and a government that is for all the people of Guyana. Yet still, we saw a few nights ago, those vendors between Camp Street and Vicinjon Road, I think it is, had all their stalls demoed after this guy came and love up with Afro-Guyanese business owners. As soon as he turned his back on them, look what happened to those vendors. Now, this is not the first, when the PPP would have interacted with these vendors and letting them know, hey, we want you all to move. It wasn't the first interaction. Those vendors were told, okay, to upgrade their stalls. Many would have went ahead and taken out loans to upgrade their stalls. They were told to upgrade their stalls to attract tourists. That's what they were told. Many would have went ahead and taken out loans precisely for the purpose of upgrading their stalls. Now to have this happen to them, it's double trouble here. Because you have an outstanding loan, you don't have any employment. We have to remember, when the PPPC comes and they destroy people's lives, there is no contingency plan. This government knows nothing about having contingencies in place for people, especially Afro-Guyanese. They don't know anything about that. Though I know that it's not just Afro-Guyanese vendors that is on the seawall. They're from all races. And we might look and we may see 35 or 40 stalls, and we may say, oh, all right, it's only 35 or 40 people that will be unemployed. That is absolutely not the case. I heard that some of those vendors have up to 12 people employed. So do the math. It's a lot of people who are going to be out of work. And then people say, oh, all these individuals are going to be on the breadline. What breadline? There's no breadline in Guyana. You better find something or you're starved to death. There's no breadline. Like I said, the government have no contingency plans in place for these people. How could you look at this government and not align them with being a dictatorship? How can you? Good evening, Councillor Mackenzie. Welcome to Over to You.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here. I had some difficulties, but thank God I'm here. And good evening to your viewers.
Good evening, Ms. Cox. I just want you to take, a shot at what would have happened to those vendors between Camp Street and St. John Road there at the seawall. What's your thoughts? What's your take?
What happened with those vendors on the seawall is so heartbreaking. When I saw the breaking news, one thing came back to my mind was Mocha, Hillfoot, Plastic City. It was so hard to look at. I actually had to look at it the next day because the Honorable Cheryl Duncan, he brought it as it was going on. And, look, they say if you say this, it doesn't mean that you're racial. I don't mean to come over racial.
Okay, we lost.
This,
okay.
of persons out there are Black people, plain and straight. The persons out there are Black people. Yes, we will have a few Indian persons out there, but the majority is Black people. Now, I live in New Amsterdam, but then when I go to Georgetown, and sometimes you will take a walk out, and I can remember going out there on the seawall afternoon with a couple of friends, and I was dead hungry. But when we got out there, there were things like hot dogs, fish fry, fish and chip, thing to drink, Now, when you remove those persons, somebody like me that is not rich, I can't go out there and spend, because those that really have the stands that the First Lady promised these same vendors and give it to somebody else, I can't afford to buy there. But the small man, I could run quick and buy a bottle of water for $100, $120. I could run and buy a juice for $200, you know? And what I'm looking at, where are these persons going to go, right? Where they're going to go to fly their trade, as well as where are they going to get the money from to pay their mortgage, send their children to school. Some of them are single parents, both male single parents, female single parent. You know, it's look, Mark, when I always call you Mark, it's so heartbreaking. I don't have enough words to explain my feelings about it.
Well said, Councillor Cox. Well said. You know, it's interesting that this government, you know, seems to always take this type of position against people, and then they expect not to be challenged. How can you not be challenged when you, in your manifesto, would have promised 50,000 jobs to the people of Guyana? Number one, you have not delivered. Number two, those individuals were forced to create their own employment and at the same time employed others.
Yeah.
Okay? And then you are going to come, rip down their businesses and tear their lives apart with your police and your everything and just bully them and just knock them over. Listen, I saw someone in the comments that was saying, oh, the vendors should have hired a lawyer.
Where they getting the money from to hire this lawyer?
No. Ms. Cox, that's even beside the point. They shouldn't have to hire a lawyer. The judiciary in Guyana itself should come out and let the government know that that approach is wrong. It's absolutely wrong. What happened in Moko was wrong. What happened at Hillfoot was wrong. What happened at LBI was wrong. These things are wrong. And wrong is wrong. All these wrongs can't make a right. No, the First Lady is working on a beautification project. And I think that that project is going to expand from
beyond Camp Street. Yes, it's going to go beyond Camp Street.
And let me make it clear to you, Ms. Cox, because I did some research and I touched base with some individuals on the ground in Guyana. I understood, I was made to understand that there's $90,000 for one of those spots. How can you do that to people? Couldn't government approach these same vendors and say, hey, look, we are doing a beautification project. Here you have pictures of what we are going to be putting in place here on the seawall. We will provide loans to you guys. And we are going to build out the infrastructure. And you guys can come back and take your places. Instead of that, you come and you bulldoze the people. You take away their structures and you just send them away. I am telling you, the PPPC is looking for trouble. And the day you see that they do something to somebody and it doesn't sit well with that person, and somebody gets hurt, that is going to be on them. You cannot go ahead bullying people. Then you have people like Mark Phillips, the big soup drinker, powerless Mark Phillips, powerless Bishop Edghill, because he came the night before and he would have said, and he sounds so convincing, that whomever is saying that these vendors are going to be removed, I don't know if I'm saying his word exactly, but they were strife makers, and it was propaganda, basically. That's what he was saying. And a little less than 24 hours later, or a little bit more than 24 hours after, the vendors, their stands was being taken down. So it just shows you.
When
Yes.
Here.
I think we've lost Miss Cox there. It just shows you guys how powerless people like Juan Edghill is. Totally powerless. Mark Phillips, Hugh Todd, Juan Edghill, all powerless Afro-Guyanese. I don't even feel comfortable calling those three Afro-Guyanese.
Yes, as Wayne and viewers, please understand that we're still living in Guyana, and this is the way the internet and the light treats us. So when you see me in and out, it's not me. As I was saying, they went there that night, and because the Honorable Sherrod Duncan got out there quick enough to show us what was going on, they stopped operation. But we knew they would have gone back. We knew that they would have gone back because the cameras, as soon as the cameras leave, they will go back and do their mischief. And that's the PPP for you. You know? They don't negotiate with anybody with anything. They just do as they like. And the hurtful part of it, and again, I say I have no apologies. It's all Black people. You look along the line. It's all Black people this is happening to. And then you know what they do? They send a minister that is Black like us to talk to us. So when they send this Black minister, it's telling us, oh, you can't tell he racial because he Black. You understand? So every time they do these things to the Black nation, they send a Black minister to talk to us.
You know, Ms. Cox, and that's a very good point you made. That's a very good point you've just made there. But here's where I have an issue. Is that I have seen this picture before. Okay, I have seen this same picture many times before. And this may be a tough question, and you can choose to pass on it. But does the opposition have any measures in place to counter, you know, these atrocities by the PPPC? Because it's not today, it's not yesterday, it's not the day before yesterday that they've been bulldozing people. We have seen it over and over again. I know Miss Chanel Smith Daniels was out there initially, and she made her voice heard. And I thank her for that. But outside of that, I have seen nothing else. I have seen nothing else. And just to add to that, and this is something that I'm going to address a bit later in the show, I saw MP Jermaine Figueroa would have penned a letter through NCN of all news agencies to speak to the boycott matter in Brooklyn. But he totally passed on this one. And I will personally address Jermaine Figueroa a bit later in this show, because I'm not pleased with what I would have seen out of that MP. I am very, very concerned about that particular MP because he's showing some traits that I would have seen before. I will address that later on the show. But Ms. Cox, the question to you is, has the opposition taken any measures to counteract the PPPC bullying antics?
When at this point, and this is my personal opinion, the most we can do right now as the opposition is like comfort these persons, you know, talk to them, encourage them. I don't know about the financial department because I'm not there. I'm not in management committee, so I cannot say. But I don't know what they give them. As I said, I'm not in management committee. So from my observation, or what we try to do, or what I personally try to do, is, you know, reach out to them, talk to them, see how much you can help them. The PPP has an attitude that no matter what you say, they go ahead and do what they got to do. They don't care how you feel, whether you're opposition or whatever, you talk, they just don't care.
Okay, they don't care.
Because remember, Shawnette was out there and she made her voice heard and whatever, but then when she left, look what happened. So they're showing clearly these people doesn't care.
Well, you know, to see a government take such a pompous position and treat their own people the way they are treating the Guyanese currently and expects to be re-elected in 2025, it's painting a picture to me like if the 2025 election would have already played out. You know, they seem to have GCOM locked down. You're not hearing anything from the Guyana Elections Commission. Nothing. You know, I've seen, you know, efforts by Ms. Rhonda Lane to go there every Tuesday, you know, and protest and, you know, do the protest action. She's very consistent with our group, though a small group. They make sure that their presence is felt out there every Tuesday. I want to encourage more Guyanese to join that protest exercise on Tuesday with Ms. Rhonda Lane and others. It is very, very important. It is concerning when you're not hearing anything from the Guyana Elections Commission. And to see how the PPPC is operating now, I would like to say this. The PPPC has to understand this. There is no way that there can be free and fair election in Guyana and the PPPC wins come 2025. Yeah. Please, guys, you heard my words. Free and fair. There is no way the PPPC can win a free and fair elections in Guyana presently.
That's correct. That is why they're bringing in so many nurses, you know, so that with the hope or the plan that these nurses will get registered, become citizens, and vote for them.
Ms. Cox.
My thing is why they're not bringing any Haitians.
Ms. Cox, the PPPC is seeking to have ethnic supremacy in
That's
Guyana.
right. That's
okay?
right.
So although Haiti is a part of CARICOM, just look at the pigmentation of those people, and there's not a chance under the PPPC regime. And this is where I have some issues with the opposition. I don't want to have any issues with the opposition, but here is where I have some issues. Because bringing in 500 Bangladeshi nurses should not, absolutely should not be allowed when you closed down our nursing school in Linden.
In Linden, right?
That pushes out excellent Guyanese nurses. When you would have promised 50,000 jobs as part of your manifesto, and you would not have met your quota, you are talking about going externally to bring in 500 nurses and their families. That could equate to as much as 5,000 people, depending on family size. You know, this is not fair to the Guyanese people. This is not fair. And I have grave concerns about the opposition and their approach, because at times it appears to be futile. It appears to be futile. We need to stand strong as an opposition. And Ms. Cox, I want to ask you a question. I know that you're from the AFC, right? This is a time that there are many Guyanese, particularly Indo-Guyanese, who are on the fence when it comes to the PPPC. Can you please, edify my audience about, your recruiting efforts from an AFC perspective to reach these people? Because people are looking for solid leadership at the moment. To you, ma'am.
When I'm on the ground daily, I'm on the ground daily. Sometimes I hardly even get time for myself. Today I decided to take a day off and said, I ain't doing no work today. I meet with people across the spectrum, Indian people, Black people, they all have the one cry. But a lot of the persons on the fence, they're scared of victimization. They don't want to come forward, which is understood, which is understood. And they have some complaints that
we seem to would have lost Miss Cox again there. But look, my opinion on this is that the opposition is a coalition, right? You have the AFC, you have the PNC, you have the WPA. Okay, all three of those, and I think you have some other small joiner parties there also.
Yeah. They're talking, they want to change course, but as every other thing, they're looking to see what is going on. I even heard there is a recruitment going on with the PPP. Some of the members trying to keep Black people out of the PPP. Something that I welcome, to be honest. I welcome, because some persons are saying, okay, they're just there because of what I could get or to eat a bread. For me, that is nonsense. Why I'm saying that is nonsense? If I come at your home and I am certain that I'm going to get a breakfast in the morning, I will continue to come there to get that breakfast. And I will not go at Mark's home because he's only promising me the breakfast, he doesn't have it. So obviously I'll keep supporting you so that I can get that breakfast.
Okay.
If you understand.
Yes, that's
so. Some would say, oh, when I go in the box, I know is why I got to vote. Hell no, you're not going to vote nowhere else, and you are already getting a piece of bread there. So don't come around me funny and try fooling me. And for those that join the PPP, those that was with the coalition when we were in power and joined the PPP now, I want to say to them, Camille Cox, are saying to them they are selfish and they don't realize the repercussion of what they're doing because it's going to fall on their children, and their children, what they're doing now. Because nothing that you do with these people will remain with you. It will not remain with you. It will trickle down. It has a trickle down effect. And I am saying that you are selfish. You're just thinking about yourself and you're not thinking about your other brothers and sisters that are out here in the struggle.
Ms. Cox, and that's well said, but I believe across the board in, from an opposition perspective, that the posture need to change. There needs to be a pivot. There's no more working with the PPPC, okay? The PPPC is indeed a criminal syndicate, and they're not willing to work with anybody. The PPPC and their core leadership wants Guyana for themselves. Forget about the citizens. That's right. Of Guyana. Forget about the citizens of Guyana. They are not even thought of. They are not even thought of. So when people go into a voting booth and put that check at that cup, man, you're not thinking about your brothers and your sisters, okay? Because what has this government done for the Guyanese people since being installed? Let's look at the services. GWI, atrocious. Guyana Power and Light, oh my God, not even atrocious. Non-existent. Blackouts, 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 blackouts. All the time. Destroying people's equipment, destroying people's businesses. You see, these guys that sit in offices, they don't know about blackouts. They don't have to light candles and lamps, right? Because they have their big standby generator, amongst other things, to supply them, okay, with the necessary electrical needs that they would have. But the everyday Guyanese is who is feeling the struggle, who is feeling the pain. It is the everyday picture. You have a chicken business where you need to have frozen chicken. Picture you have an ice cream business where you need to have ice cream frozen. I heard the New Amsterdam hospital was without power.
Yes, the other night, we had blackout from like 6 o'clock. Are you hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. The 3 nights. No, let me be exact. I think it was Monday night. We had blackouts from 1800 hours, which is 6 o'clock. Which was from 6 o'clock. About that. From 6 o'clock, and when you scroll in Facebook, you see persons posting about the blackout. And then somebody called me and tell me New Amsterdam Hospital is in blackout and sent me a picture. The guards are there with a torchlight sitting at the guard hut, but the entire building is in blackout. I was wondering what happening with the persons in ICU and these different departments. I wanted to go down there to see what was going on, but my son prevented me from doing that. He said, "Don't leave the house; it's blackout."
Ms. Cox, I would like to ask a follow-up question to that. Does the New Amsterdam Hospital not have a standby generator? Because listen, we have $1 trillion budget here. We just had $1 trillion budget that was passed, and about 65% of that budget has been allocated to infrastructure. So my question is, what's going on here? All these monies are being allocated or budgeted, and we're not seeing any type of upgrades. Yes, you see a few
And New Amsterdam, New Amsterdam, and for the regional budget, New Amsterdam got the most money. Region 6 get the most money. I don't answer that question. I'm not certain there is a generator. From what I'm hearing, the generator is there, but it is not working. That is what I'm hearing. I cannot confirm that later, early in the
it is very, very interesting that we are in the 21st century and the hospital does not have backup electricity. So I guess patients in Guyana don't go on ventilators and these type of things. That's to show you the level of our health system in Guyana. It's below par, way below par. Public hospitals, all of them, should be equipped with backup electricity. And listen, I had seen a post, Miss Cox, on Facebook, and the post was alluding to the late great Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham and what he would have done for Guyana. And I looked at the comments below, and it is funny how so many people from the PPPC side believes that it is Lyndon Forbes Burnham that has Guyana in the position that it is in now. You know, next year is going to be 40 years since that great man would have passed on. 40 years. The PPPC would have been in power for 23 years, plus this 3.5 going on 4 years. How can you lay blame on Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham?
So it's almost 15 years my mom has passed. So should I blame my mom for whatever position I'm in now?
And Barra Jagdeo is one that is very, very guilty of doing this. Very, very guilty. And speaking of Barra Jagdeo, I was always of the opinion and continues to be of the opinion that one man cannot rule a nation. He is totally out of ammunition. The last press conference all Barra Jagdeo could have done is speak about Rickford Burke, Mark Benchcop, Rickford Burke. Back and forth, those two names. There is nothing left. There is no ante left. The PPPC has no vision for the people of Guyana or the country. I call on all Guyanese. It is high time to move away from Barra Jagdeo and the PPPC. They have given you a sample of what they're about. Okay? And in order for Guyana to progress, the PPPC must make an exit from leadership in the country. Ms. Cox,
when we get more than a sample, we are having more than a sample. We had a sample in the 23 years, but now we are having the full breakfast. This is no sample anymore. This is just exactly the PPP have peeled off their skin and show us exactly who they are and what they're about.
And from an opposition perspective, I want to make one point here. This is straight for the leader of the opposition, Mr. Aubrey Compton Norton. Honorable Mr. Aubrey Compton Norton. Mr. Norton is the leader at the present moment.
Yeah.
most things on the side of the opposition is going to fall at his feet.
Of course.
Okay. It is understood and it is public knowledge that Mr. Norton does not have possession of the list to determine who goes to Parliament, who does not go to Parliament. It is in his best interest to task all his MPs and have them working. All of them. He is the leader. He is currently the leader. There's going to be a Congress in August. I know there was a meeting by the General Council, I think, or the executive body of the PNCR, and an exact date will be forthcoming for that Congress. But until that Congress is held, and to the extent there is a new leader, Aubrey Norton is in charge. He is the leader. And what he says should go across the board. This is his time. Okay? And sometimes you don't get a second chance. When it is your time, it is important that you execute. And if he assigns tasks to all his MPs, he shouldn't keep it internal if people are not executing. It should be made public so that the constituency that they represent can see that they're disrespecting the leader and they're not following orders. Listen, Ms. Cox, there could be a leader in place and one may not like that leader. But what is mandatory? It is mandatory that you respect the position. That's all I'm saying. Respect the position. Now, we have Roysdale Ford who is running against Aubrey Norton. Should Roysdale Ford run against Aubrey Norton? Absolutely. It's a Democratic Party. It's a Democratic Party. But they shouldn't be warring with each other and putting each other down and throwing out each other laundry and all that stuff. No, don't worry about that. Forget that. We are dealing with the people here. We are dealing with the issues that the people are facing. Let's debate. Let's address those things. Let's not get personal. All right? Let's not get personal. All right? So I call on the opposition, both the PNC, the AFC, the WPA. I know Dr. Hines and Mr. Kadaki Amsterdam, they head up on the WPA. I hope at some point that I will have Dr. Hines on the program and I could ask him what they are doing as far as, recruiting new members to the WPA. The WPA is an important party and they're going to be very important to the opposition as a whole. All right? Listen, the opposition needs to come together. The PPPC, their feet need to be held to the fire. All right? All the division needs to stop. People need to sit down and they need to start talking. All right? They need to start talking. Ms. Cox, I see that you're out there and you're working. Are you in Region 6 doing this work? Where is this work happening?
When that is in Region 6, there's a village called Sisters Village that is way up on the east bank of Vorbees. We went and do that visit and talk to the residents there, listen to their complaints, see as much as possible how we can advise and comfort them. Because for me, that's all I can do. Advise persons, lead them in the right direction and comfort them.
Okay. I see Mr. Ford. Mr. Ford is out working. That's what is needed. You need to have a robust exercise on the ground to continue to empower and build up Guyanese. All right. The Guyanese people have a high level of fear. We need them to be fearless. They have to be fearless if they ought to recapture their nation. Listen, we have a very, very, very robust and strong diaspora who is 100% willing to support the people on the ground in Guyana. But it is also imperative that the people on the ground in Guyana do their part in this fight. It is very important. As we prepare to wrap up, Ms. Cox, your closing remarks, please. All right, it seems as if Ms. Cox again is having some difficulties, so we may not be able to get those closing remarks from her. But in closing, I want to encourage everyone to stay strong and just to remind everyone the futile attempt by Irfaan Ali to come in to Brooklyn for his photo ops and to show that there is solidarity between the PPPC and Afro-Guyanese businesses and the Afro-Guyanese people was a sure failure. Okay, and this is coming on the backbone of the UN Human Rights Committee grilling Gail Teixeira and the PPPC. Listen, we are continuing to play from the front. The PPPC, we are keeping them on the back foot, and that's where they will be. They are completely out of ammo. As you could have seen from the last Barra Jagdeo press conference, they have nothing to say, you know, and let's not be deterred by a few soup drinkers who chooses to go out there and align themselves, you understand me, with the racist PPCC and let them into Brooklyn. Let that not deter us. Ms. Cox, please, your closing remarks, please.
Mark, I would like to say to my Guyanese brothers and sisters, all
right. We have lost Ms. Cox there. I just want to thank everyone for joining this afternoon. I do have some material already for our next show on Saturday. We're going to be, I'm having some discussions with a few students on the University of Guyana, and that will be part of the basis of our next show next weekend. Ms. Cox, once again, quickly, if you can give us your closing.
Yes, as I said, I want to tell all my Guyanese brothers and sisters that one party cannot win this election. We need to all come together and stand strong. It is a struggle. We will go through the struggle and we will get out victorious. Have a blessed weekend. Have a blessed week ahead of you and stay strong. Better will come.
Thank you so much, Ms. Camille Cox. We encourage everyone to support Andrew's Supermarket, to support Sanita London interior decorators and wedding planners. Please support them. Also, this program was brought to you compliments of Benchcap Immigration and Law. For all your immigration needs, please contact Benchcap Consultancy, Immigration and Law at 917-714-1082. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and I look forward to seeing all of you guys next weekend. Please take good care of yourselves and your family. Until, have a great remainder of the weekend, everyone. Camille, take care, and thank you for joining. Have a good weekend too. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.
See you guys next week.
Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police are come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, policeman are come.
Sanko licky love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko licky love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Police are come and the gala holla murder. Bip bop, police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko kissy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko kissy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Bip bop, police are come and the gala holla murder. Bip bop, police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police are come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, policeman are come.
Sanko chase the love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko chase the love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Bip bop, police are come and the gala holla murder. Bip bop, police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko catchy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko catchy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Bip bop, police are come and the gala holla murder. Bip bop, police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police are come. Sanko boy.
Hey fans, it's karaoke and oldies night this and every Thursday at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton. Dance to the magical songs of yesteryear by popular DJs and Camps Audio. Admission is free. Come out, let's make memories at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton North.